Earthquake geology in Yellowstone, uncovering hidden threats. Yellowstone isn't just a land of geysers and bison. It's a living, breathing geologic theater. Beneath those steaming pools and the wide-open vistas lies a complicated web of faults, fluids, and heat that produces earthquakes of many flavors. This narrative analysis explains how earthquake processes operate in Yellowstone, why they matter, what hidden threats they may pose, and where the biggest scientific uncertainties remain. A quick map in words. Think of Yellowstone's crust as an onion with a hot, mushy center, a large, long-lived magma body at depth overlain by a brittle rock, fractured by fault networks. Heat and fluids from below weaken rocks. Fault zones channel stress, and the region's tectonic setting applies the push and pull that triggers shaking. Earthquakes, there are not just simple fault slips. They're the surface symptoms of a coupled system of magma, hydrothermal fluids, and tectonic stress. Types of earthquakes you'll find in Yellowstone. Tectonic earthquakes, classic brittle failure events on faults due to regional stresses. They occur at a range of depths and sizes and are driven by plate motions and local stress concentrations. Volcanic tectonic earthquakes caused by magma movement or pressure changes in the crust, often higher frequency and clustered in swarms near magma bodies or intrusions. Hydrothermal earthquakes, small, shallow events triggered by rapid changes in fluid pressure or boiling in hydrothermal systems. These are common around active geyser basins. Induced-like swarms, rapid bursts of many small quake swarms that can be triggered by stress transfer from a nearby event, fluid migration, or changes in permeability. Why Yellowstone's earthquakes are special. Yellowstone's combination of shallow heat, pervasive fluids, and an active fault network produces earthquake behavior that is more complex than in dry, cold, crustal regions. Fluid rock interactions amplify or damp fault slip. Fluids reduce effective normal stress on faults, making them easier to slip for a given tectonic load. Thermal gradients alter rock strength with depth. Warm, weakened rocks can host a seismic creep or localized brittle failure. Multiple drivers, tectonics, magmatic intrusions, and hydrothermal dynamics can act together or independently, making cause and effect difficult to untangle from seismic records alone. Swarms and the story they tell. Yellowstone is famous for earthquake swarms, many small quakes clustered in time and space. Swarms are not necessarily for shocks of large volcanic eruptions. They often reflect rapid redistribution of stress, for example, after a nearby quake, movement of magmatic fluids or gases, boiling and pressurization of hydrothermal systems, opening and sealing of fracture networks. The key challenge, swarms can look similar in seismic data, whether they're driven by magma, tectonic stress, or fluids. Distinguishing the driver matters enormously for hazard interpretation. Faults and hidden rupture potential. Surface faults in Yellowstone are only part of the story. Subsurface fault geometry is complex and often poorly mapped. Hidden threats include blind faults, those that don't reach the surface, that can produce unexpectedly large inland earthquakes, reactivated older structures that were stable under past conditions, but can slip when fluids or heat change the stress field, linked fault networks that can transfer stress, and cascades slip across a wider area than a single mapped fault would suggest. Because faults under heat and fluid influence can have different frictional properties, standard earthquake rupture scaling laws may not always apply, meaning recurrence intervals and maximum expected magnitudes are uncertain. Interactions with the magma hydrothermal system. Magma movements at depth, e.g., intrusions or dike propagation, generate clusters of earthquakes. Even modest magma displacement can alter pore pressures and trigger seismicity far from the intrusion itself. Meanwhile, hydrothermal plumbing, the hot water and steam networks that feed geysers and springs, can produce frequent tiny quakes when boiling or permeability changes occur. These shallow, repeated jolts can subtly reshape local stress and permeability over time, creating feedback loops. Hazards to people and infrastructure. Most Yellowstone quakes are small and pose limited direct danger, but hidden threats to consider: larger tectonic earthquakes outside park boundaries could produce strong shaking, landslides, and damage to infrastructure, roads, bridges, pipelines. Hydrothermal explosions, rare but violent, can be triggered by sudden pressure changes. While not earthquakes in the tectonic sense, they are seismic hazards linked to the same physical processes. Cascading effects. Shaking can change hot spring. Plumbing initiate landslides or alter geothermal activity, unexpectedly affecting visitors' safety and park operations. Uncertainty in rupture extent. Poorly mapped faults could produce larger than anticipated events if they rupture through linked networks. Monitoring what we can and can't see seismic networks. GPS, INSA are satellite surface deformation, gas monitoring, and temperature pressure sensors give researchers a multi-sensor view. Strengths. Dense seismic networks can detect tiny quakes and resolve swarm patterns. GPS and its reveal inflation, deflation related to magma or hydrothermal pressure changes.